the fun part is basically like the fact that this conversation is happening, because when I went to the Africa Climate Summit, I never actually like would have thought there's a partner who would want to intentionally like come back after 1 year and they're like, okay, what is the progress that we have made? What are the lessons? What are the recommendations? What have you seen on the ground? What can you share about like what you're doing in their own spaces? So people being able to even share what they're doing, because I feel like in Kenya, knowledge, dissemination, documentation is not something that is taken so seriously, and we cannot know the progress we're making if we do not document, if we do not like hear stories, if we do not like write down the impacts we have been part of, the challenges, the lessons, best practices. So I feel like the sharing of information, it brings us to the same level of, yes, we have done this, but then this is why we have maybe had challenges. What can we do about it? And what does ACS come into play? So I love the way people are sharing their stories. I love the way people are actually acknowledging what the government has done, but then at the same time, what we, the community, are doing, because we are doing the biggest part. And I love that you're noting down the suggestions, you're noting down the successes, and then I'm really hoping you guys are going to like note it down and share it and document it, because I want to be able to read that report and say, yes, this is what we talked about. This is the true account of it. This is what we decided we're going to move forward. So it's a bit of accountability, it's a bit of measuring impact, it's a bit of monitoring, evaluating, and then learning, and then making like even better decisions, but also engaging young people. I feel like our voice is missing in this space. We are doing so much. God, we are doing so much. So conversations like this bring that spotlight to what young people are doing actively, so that we don't continue the narrative out there that probably young people are too like disengaged, they're too impatient. No, we are not impatient. We are actively doing climate action aspects. We are also very knowledgeable about it, and this is how we can show that we are key partners. We're not just, people you invite in workshops, you're saying, oh, there were 10 young people. No, we're actually partners in the main stakeholders in this space. Our society somehow underrates the value of communication, strategic social change communication. When people don't know what climate adaptation is, when they don't know what climate change is in their own ways, when they don't know how to recognize climate change, they won't even know we need to do something about it. The other day I was actually talking to a taxi guy. He told me that, I was like, do you see like how climate change is affecting us? He was like, human beings cannot change the climate. Only God can decide how the climate looks like. I was like, yo, how do we even start engaging the taxi driver and telling them that we are here because of human practices? We're not here because God willed for it to be sunny. So I believe the best strategy and where we need to start from is in communication. Let us break it down so that even that old woman in the village can understand what climate change is. They can understand what they are doing that is climate adaptation, what they are doing that is working against the climate. And I mean, let's just start there. Let's have conversations first before we go to boardrooms and develop, projects and all that. Let's make sure people understand. So strategic social change communication that targets different audiences. If it's a young person, you speak to them in a way they understand. If it's a teenager, you speak to them in a teenage language. If it's an old person, if you have to go and speak vernacular, go and speak vernacular. Leave alone your technology innovation. Go to speak to that person at their own level, in their own language, in a way they understand. So communication will be the #1 adaptation strategy for me.